All right. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Monday. J Doc, we got a nice start to the week. We are well into November. Can you believe it hasn't even been a full week yet? Wow. Since the election last Tuesday evening, let's say Wednesday morning. But first of all, big thank you to all the folks who supported our Caring and Sharing 2-day drive to raise thousands of dollars for those 26 nonprofits and food pantries. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Seriously, thank you from the bottom of our hearts because you're going to help so many families in your community. And so many of you stepped up on Friday afternoon. We know you were looking for more news from the election, but we did that to support because the food pantries asked us to go early this year. The demand is that high because of inflation. Got a packed show for you. J Dog, I'm not sure if our first newsmaker out of the gate is a go, but we are going to be talking a little bit, obviously, about some of the transitional stuff happening with the election in terms of Donald Trump moving forward. I've gotten a big kick over the weekend of all the Democrat finger pointing. I'm sorry. It hasn't even been a week yet. So indulge me. I just get a kick that Bernie Sanders, by the way, when I went to University of Vermont, guess who the mayor was? Guess who the mayor was? Bernie Sanders. Never agreed with him at all in his socialism and his economic views. But I'll say one thing about Bernie. He was the Democrat who won the New Hampshire presidential primary, first in the nation primary, the last two times before the DNC and Biden took it away. We had the highest voter per capita turnout last Tuesday of any state in the country. You upwards of around 75% of the vote, more than 824,000 total votes here in New Hampshire, state of 1.3 million people. Democrats stripped that primary away because they like to anoint their leaders. Bernie Sanders made some good points over the weekend, how the Democrat Party, one lesson they're going to have to learn, a bitter pill, the working class left them last Tuesday and voted for Trump because the Democrats, Bernie Sanders said, left the working class. Pelosi's blaming Biden. Biden is blaming Pelosi. Bernie's blaming Biden and Harris. DNC officials blaming former President Obama. This is hilarious, the finger pointing. But as I said on some of my shows at the end of the week, like some of these fast food chains that are filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, it feels like that's the state of the national Democrats right now, scratching their heads, still trying to figure out what truck hit them on the way to the stadium, if you will. All right, some commentary. Kelly Ayotte is the governor-elect of the state of New Hampshire. Busy week last week, so she was given her victory talk to supporters in Salem on Tuesday evening after Joyce Craig conceded. Kelly Ayotte, governor-elect, joins us. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, New England, and worldwide. The pulse of an age. Good morning. Well, I trust she might have gotten a little bit of rest at the end of the week. Well, I know there's a pretty good sized parade for Veterans Day, and I know that's important and near and dear to your family's heart. Well, you know what? It is Veterans Day. If you don't mind, I want to hear some thoughts because, it was a hard fought gubernatorial race, one of the most visible races for governor in America. And you're the governor elect. I want to come back to that. But can we start with Veterans Day? I think some people have learned through your most recent run more about your husband, as you say. Joe now is a teacher, but he's a veteran, was a fighter pilot. I think the Warthog, one of the Warthog fighter pilots during the Middle East. But my point is, as governor elect and incoming, I know you've been very supportive of all the efforts I've ever been involved in terms of supporting veterans. I know it's near and dear to your family's heart, and you also have, I think, a kid like Governor Sununu in the armed services are joining. But as governor coming in, what are some of the unfinished business tasks we have to do to better support our veterans here at home, right here in New Hampshire? Yeah. Yeah, Kelly Ayotte, governor-elect. I wanna just talk about your race because it was really the most talked about race here other than the Harris-Trump vote here last week. Huge voter turnout. I'm gonna be candid because that's the way I do this, as you know, Governor-elect Ayotte. That night on election night, we had some of the best in here, and we called your race with Joyce Craig in the 8 o'clock hour, about well over an hour before anyone else, because we could our analysts were looking at Concord and Manchester, and it was quite remarkable how well you did in Manchester, and our analyst simply said, "That's the if Ayotte wins and does well in these wars in Manchester, it's over for Joyce Craig," and it was. I guess my question is, the feeling was if Harris beat Trump in New Hampshire, it would be challenging for you or any Republican. You beat those odds and expectations, and our analyst pointed out you actually outperformed Governor Sununu in some of his earlier past races. So, what were the keys to your success in terms of your message and candidacy? And where do you think Joyce Craig missed the mark? And I mean that like issue wise. I'm not talking like campaign management. I mean just issue wise. Why do you think so many not only Republicans but independents went your way and actually crossed over Governor-elect Ayotte? Because if you look at the crosstabs, they might have voted federally in the first district, for example, for Chris Pappas or Maggie Goodlander in the second, crossed over for Ayotte. Why did your message win? That's what I'm asking. Do you think Joyce Craig and the Democrats overshot the abortion rights debate runway by trying to sort of convince everyone that all the Republicans, including you, were going to ban a woman's right to abortion? You seem to get out in front of that issue better than Republican candidates than they have in the past. Do you think that backfired? And do you think Joyce Craig, were you surprised as a candidate at that greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce debate when she basically did propose the bringing in a new interest and dividends income tax, if you will, on people's investments? Were you surprised on both fronts? Now, as you come into the new term, first term as governor, if you had to say of the issues you heard on the trail, Kelly Ayotte, what do you think? We talked about Veterans Day and veterans issues, and I agree with you. We have to do a better job, especially supporting our veterans, because that's the deal we had with them. And less than 1% serve so many people in America. My question on the other, what are the two other big priorities if you've had time to kind of focus on problems you want solutions to as the incoming governor? If you had to list two challenges or issues that you want to work on. Hmm. Hmm. And finally, we're bringing back the trades this Friday. I know you've been a supporter of this. Mike Rose coming in. I'll be doing my show live at New Hampshire Technical Institute in Concord. 5,000 people expected, 80 companies in the trades. This is a pretty big deal, and I'm really impressed at how from the first time Amanda Grapponi Osmer brought this up to us here at the Pulse of an H in our group. I was a little bit like, well, if we get 1,000 people there, we're doing good. This thing is sold out. I mean, there's a real appetite when you talk to the community college system and what people need and want in the marketplace. Well, how excited are you about to be supporting this? Thank you, Kelly Ayotte. I appreciate it very much, and we're live, and I appreciate it, and we'll catch you this week as we get towards bringing back the trades, and good luck today getting around for Veterans Day. Thank you. All right, we are broadcasting live on our network of terrific AM and FM stations right up into Maine, WTSN AM and FM 1270 AM 98.1 FM. Brand new digital signal in the Lakes region on top of our WEMJ AM and FM 98.3 FM HD2 if you like that digital crystal clear stuff. 107.7 FM The Pulse WTPL. Hey Google, hey Alexa, play The Pulse of Nature. We'll come back with more reflections on what really happened on the way to the voting booth last Tuesday night here and nationally. Back on the Pulse of an H in a moment. All right, welcome back. I want to take a moment or two here. We got a packed show for you for Veterans Day on this day as we get going. And I have to, I do have to sort of chuckle, at least with myself, towards the end of the week when some people who are on my social media page, which I use primarily for this show promotion on the Pulse of an Age, my morning show, like for, who's coming up tomorrow morning. So I've had a couple regular folks, let's just say they're not fiscal conservative thinkers, putting it nicely and respectfully, and they like to bird dog me on just about everything. I notice how quiet they've been this week, but when they pop up, it's still they can't say anything without mentioning Trump. And I understand, by the way, and I'm being serious here in some commentary. 603-228-2080. When things don't go your way in life, it's not fun. I get it. And I mean that sincerely. And I've learned in my own life more from the losses I've had than the wins or the victories. Losing's hard and it stinks. Winning is easy, and I mean that. And I applaud everyone. By the way, I'm going to say some things that a lot of people haven't said in less than a week from tomorrow. One is I applaud anyone who puts the name on a ballot. I mean that sincerely. It's very, very thankless these days. And I know there's a lot at stake when you run for president, but all these other races down ballot, state house representative, state senate, executive council, no one ever talks about these things. Anyone who runs for office should be commended because I often say sometimes, speaking of a lot of these college professors who now have egg on their face, and they should, especially in the Ivy League college system, who basically become political activists in the classroom versus professors, and they don't have the guts to put their name on a ballot and run for office, so they sit there and play political activists in their classroom, or a lot of the national news media who have egg on their face from 60 Minutes on down or over. And forget people like the View host. That speaks for itself. So that's just like Comedy Central watching them whine and moan. How can so many people vote this way? What is wrong with them? They don't get it. As long as you keep saying what is wrong with them, you might as well call them garbage or deplorables. You don't get it. As you sit there in your elite ivory thrones, Bernie Sanders was right. You forgot the working class. Don't you love it, by the way? The guests they have and who spoke at the Democrat National Convention with Harris and Walz, and who Harris ran around with in the last week or two. Yeah, real working class of the people type people. Yeah, everyone from Beyonce to J Lo to Bruce Springsteen. These are people that have their 18,000 square foot homes in New Jersey and their private jets. Do as I say, not as I do. And as long as they keep doing that, I'm thinking of people that are really hurting, and so many people in the working class, blue collar workers, where inflation has been screwing them over for 4 years. Like they really want to see, Oprah up there, talking about, the problems in America. It just cracks me up. It really does. But the point is, I'm getting back to thank you for running. It is thankless. And, it's quite striking of what happened because it was a stunning win for Donald Trump. Some things people aren't talking about. He's well over 300 electoral college votes now. He's getting up there. Popular vote wins the House seats. He's going to get a majority. Republicans are going to get a majority in the House. The reason why I say Trump is Trump has become the Republican Party. So all these people, and I'm going to come back to that. And then the Senate majority is going to climb. So this is a wave. And my buddy Brad Card, who was up here, appreciate him being here, one of our political analysts and all-stars, he said it's not a mandate. Oh, no, he's not right. He's not right. It is a mandate. I don't know what the heck else it could be if you don't look at that vote as a mandate. It's certainly the Trump team, based on how quickly they're filling positions, both as chief of staff or board of czar. They're going to move very quickly. Buckle up after January. They're going to move very quickly. He's going to do what he said. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see resolution in the war in the Ukraine before you know what hit you. Here's the point, though. Here's the point. For 4 years, you know who got it wrong? You know who really got it wrong? You know who got this so far wrong that they actually should rethink what they do each day? Is the national pollsters. The national pollsters who did not get it right once again. And I said going into the election last week, 2 weeks ago, last week, last month, if they got it wrong the last 3 times, why the heck do we think they're going to get it right this time? So I knew they were missing something. I don't think Trump lost momentum at all. I think people mistook that. Some of our own analysts mistook that. Trump is Trump. And trying to basically explain to people that he says, over the top things in his rally or offensive things is hilarious because that's what he does. There's nothing new about Trump, but he wasn't losing momentum. Harris was. And she lost it about a month or 3 weeks, about a month ago, you could see the momentum stalling here in New Hampshire, tighter than people thought, and nationally. But the national media also deserves to really eat some humble pie here because they spent and I'm gonna actually continue this on a Monday, and happy Veterans Day to all, and thank you all who served and the families who serve. We're gonna have more on that as we get into this morning, but I'm just gonna point this out. Even locally, certain news outlets on the TV side, every time a Republican person ran in New Hampshire the last 4 years, here's the question: do you support Donald Trump? Do you support Donald Trump and what he says? Do you support Donald Trump? A Republican running for office couldn't go out of their house or use the restroom without a reporter locally asking, "Do you support Trump? Do you support Trump?" Every time. Congress, governors, Senate, "Do you support Trump?" And they thought that was the kryptonite, trip up the Republicans and see if they support Trump. And there's a reason why even the people on the Republican side who used to not support Trump came around and supported him this time, because Trump is the Republican Party, and that was a mandate, that was a landslide, that was a red wave Tuesday night. But let me go to the Democrat side. There were no questions. Do you support Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez? Do you support Joe Biden and what he said about Trump voters? Who do you support? Now the Democrats, that's a real question people are going to ask. Who are the leaders of the Democrat Party right now? I'm asking quite seriously. Other than Chris Pappas in New Hampshire and Maggie Goodlander, who both just won, and I do think Pappas is probably more of an example of Democrats going forward here. But, Jean Shaheen, who was on my show a week before the election for 14 minutes supporting Joyce Craig, speaking on behalf of Harris here and answering questions, and I give her credit for that, and I like having the senior senator on my show. She's up for re-election in 2 years. After last Tuesday's vote, it's probably not real fun to be in the minority in the U.S. Senate. I don't know if that makes Senator Shaheen think 3 times about running again. But the point is, nationally, what is the Democrat Party? They lost all their core constituencies. And here's a real point that I think everyone's missing. They lost young people. Do you know in that Gen Z and the female vote under 30, Trump did better than Biden 4 years ago? Why did so many young women, if abortion rights are everything, why did so many young women vote for Trump and not Harris? Here's another question for you. Abortion rights. How many tens of millions of dollars were spent here in New Hampshire on the governor's race, scaring people that AOT and Republicans are going to ban abortion? And you know what? People did their homework and they realized there are no bans or restrictions on abortion through the first full 6 months. And if you want to get an abortion in the 9th month electively, there are conditions. But you know what? That's a different issue. In Massachusetts, you can't get an abortion after 26 weeks. So all that money scaring people, this person's going to ban your right to abortion, the abortion ban. It backfired. It went away as an issue to the rest of the voters, and they overshot the runway. So I'm going back to this whole thing, and the Democrat Party better realize they lost in voting blocks where they used to own. They owned these voting blocks. So over the last several years, it wasn't just the Harris-Biden. The last several years, they've been losing their constituency. And, in a private business usually loses or files for Chapter 11 or goes out of business, goes bankrupt for 3 reasons. And here's what I'd say if you want to know what I really think about the National Democrat Party. They either forget who their customers are, okay, or they're really bad at running the company, or the competition put them out of business. All 3 are true here. They forgot who their customers are. They became the party of the elites, not the working class. Think about that. And Trump became more the populist, the person they felt was going to fight for them. They felt he was going to fight for them more than this ongoing thing where I've been not getting ahead. The economy's not as good as they tell me. Everyone talks down to me. I can't say anything. Inflation's killing me. The border's a mess. And I keep getting all this BS. And they actually reset the button by a big long shot. The final thing at work, I think, in Tuesday night was a lot of people have had enough. Okay. I've always said I root for people's health and success, not failure. You do you, I'll do me. I don't get in your face. But when you start telling parents in public schools here in New Hampshire, they don't have a right to know what's going on with their kid. When you start pushing transgender surgeries on teenagers before they even know what they really want to be or who they want to be when they grow up, when you start taking that connection between parents and their kids away, when you start thinking you know what's best and you start ramming all this woke stuff down people's throats to the point that they're throwing up, they're eventually going to throw up. And they threw up Tuesday night. And if you missed that, well, maybe you, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's some oceanfront property in Arizona for you, but some commentary. 603 228 2008. So we come back. Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, a lot more on the Pulse of an H. All right, we're going to tell you more about bringing back the trades in my show live this Friday at NHTI in Concord. Mike Rowe will be with us as part of the show. It's sold out. 80 businesses that work on the trades and 5,000 folks will be there. I'm looking forward to it. Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, nhjournal.com. I think your relevancy may have grown a little bit last Tuesday night as a media outlet here, and maybe more people will start letting you in to cover things. But real quickly, Kelly Ayotte, who just joined me live, governor-elect, ended up winning this race. Thank you. She ended up winning this race by more than just about any pundit out there predicted. I think it was closer to double digits than 5 points. Take it away, Michael. Yeah, I'm still perplexed on one. Yeah, go ahead. Well, yeah. Well, you know, well, okay, I don't disagree with everything, but I don't agree with everything. But I don't want to dissect that because I've been very clear on how hypocritical the Democrat leaders are, where they just token complained when the DNC and Biden took away our history and the tradition of the first in the nation presidential primary. They didn't really get upset. They just were, oh, we don't think it's a good thing, but they didn't really stand up and fight. Um, and I just want to go back to something though. When you look at the state of the Democrat Party nationally, that's one thing. But here in New Hampshire, to your points on the end, Ayotte won by a bigger margin than anyone thought. The playbook for Craig was nationalized message, tax the rich, because I was perplexed. Why would you go into a governor's race and propose basically an income tax on investments before you even win in tax sensitive New Hampshire? And I asked Senator Shaheen about that when she was supporting Craig. So if you look at the Democrats here, they took a shellacking in the governor's race. The state house is more Republican than before. And so that's interesting, even more than Sununu. The Senate seats went up, executive council Republican, House of Representatives will be, I think, a little more Republican. AOT. So when you look at the delegation, Pappas reelected. He's popular in the first district. I think he survives the shakeup. Maggie Goodlander's new to the scene. But you look at Shaheen and Hassan in the U.S. Senate seats. Not up for a while. Shaheen's next. 2 years from now, but they are did they have they commented? I mean, everyone's commenting, even former President Obama, everyone's commenting on what happened Tuesday night. What's your reaction? What do you think they're thinking, our 2 US senators, on how to play? What's going on nationally? What's going on in New Hampshire? Because 'Cause they're gonna move into the minority in the US Senate here pretty fast. You think that will continue even with the national wave here? Okay. Yeah. Hey, great story. Yeah. Yeah. Do do you yeah. Do you, do you know if Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey has left New Hampshire, or she's still up here campaigning? Alright, thank you, Michael. NHJournal.com. We come back, Doug Tengden, our world advisor on the economy, talking about the feds that got lost in the shuffle last week, interest rates, and a whole lot more. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J Dog on the boards. Veterans Day. We are live, local, and national. Back in a moment. Speaking of streaming, we were getting a lot of national feedback the other night on our election night coverage right here in our 6 Hour studios, brought to you in part by Darby Field Advisors. We were getting feedback all over the country. Some people even saying they had us on their smart speaker, Alexa, Google, whatever they were listening on, and then watching the news, but turning it down because we were having information out of Pennsylvania with the former congressman there who was telling us that it was night and day from what you were watching on all the projections on Pennsylvania going to Harris. He said, "Oh no, no, Trump's going to win Pennsylvania," and he knew the state, and he was correct. So good stuff. Thank you. All right, Doug Tendon, worldmarketadvisors.com. One of the stories lost on the way to the election was the Fed and the interest rate situation and a whole lot more. And who knows what's to come with Elon Musk running the economy. Good morning, Doug. No, I'm kidding. Good morning, Doug. Well, I don't know how you define that. The caring and sharing food drive was very gratifying. It was a whirlwind, and probably we got a big week here. And then at some point here, I'm going to try and chill out and breathe a little bit. Really elaborate because a lot of people probably missed it. Hmm. Yeah. Do you do you still believe that we're not gonna see the R word in the next year, even a mild recession? And then finally, what do you make of this Bitcoin surge? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and I don't know, I think we all have to give it a and of course, we don't know world events because I actually do think, though, it's probably gonna be more positive with Trump in there because I think he's gonna have a better deal-making view on trying to end the war in Ukraine and maybe trying to neutralize Tehran, but we'll see. China will be the big question of our lifetime, in my opinion. I learned that when I was a civilian at the U.S. Army War College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and the generals and the intelligence people, they said, "Our you may hear a lot about Putin and North Korea and Tehran, all legit, or at least Tehran and Putin, not North Korea, that they're a joke." But they said China on all aspects will continue to be our nemesis for the rest of our lives. So, all right, Doug. Right, right. Yeah. Well, they are, but they're also it's also we survived a lot of years with MAD. I don't know if you remember what that was, mutually assured destruction. That was the Cold War. In other words, before Reagan was able to break the economy of the Soviet Union with guns and butter versus, Cold War, tear down your wall, and Gorbachev got in there. A big part of China in the U.S. now, and back then with the Soviets, is China needs us. And as much as Trump talks about tariffs and all that and getting tough on China, they need us because we're the borrower of a lot of our debt, and we're a consumer, but we're also still the most, in my opinion, the most vibrant, healthy economy overall, and we need them in some ways too. So it's like a love hate type mutual existence, if you will. You need one, yeah, right, or right, right, yeah. All right, Doug, make it a good one. World of marketadvisors.com. Thank you, Doug. All right, coming up, tell you a little bit about this next Friday. I'm already getting excited. We're going to be live in Concord and the Community College, New Hampshire Technical Institute, 9 to noon. The whole day kicks off at 9. 80 businesses, trade show, all in the trades, all businesses that work on building stuff, fixing up, repairing stuff, remodeling, you name it, HVAC, electrical, builders, remodelers, kitchen, bath, all that stuff. 5,000 people going to be there. And in the 11 o'clock hour, Mike Rowe is going to be there speaking at 10 in the auditorium. We're going to be there live. It'll be a fun show. It's kind of crazy. We have to bring back the trades. They should never have left public education. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Hour number 2 next, Veterans Day.